Hey everyone, Lazy Panda here. This story time is about the time I confronted our mayor back in my hometown. I remembered this story time on a random day and I was like, that sounds like a really crazy title, so I definitely gotta tell that story. So, anyways, let's dive on in. So, this story time takes place back in my middle school, so around this time I was in 6th or 7th grade. I don't remember exactly. I'm pretty sure it was 6th, but if not, it's probably 7th. But our mayor was coming to the school just to, do mayor things, I guess, represent, blah, 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 blah. Look at the youth that's being brought up in the town, all that stuff. But, anyways, we were all told about it. And what we were going to do was we would have these postcards. And on the postcards were questions we should ask the mayor as, supervised by the teachers. Also, probably because they knew that we probably just didn't care to hear from the mayor or ask him any questions because we were kids. So we're not going to care regardless, but yeah, we were explained the routine and how it was supposed to go during the meeting and after. And then a few hours go by and it's finally time to meet the mayor. And so we go back to our homerooms. I don't know if every school does this, but just in case, a homeroom is basically the class you go into every morning, or just to basically treat it as like your home class, if you will. So we went back to our homerooms, and when we were there, we were waiting for everybody to come through. And then the teacher finally passed out our postcards and all of our questions. Now, I don't remember the original question that was on the card, but I do know I did ask it at some point. But everybody was in a single file line waiting to be walked over to the library because this is where it was taking place. But we went out of the classroom and down the stairs into the library, and the chairs were set up in a way that was like a 3x3 or something like that, obviously bigger class, but you know what I mean. And during that time, my friends and I are all talking to each other. We're like, what is going on? Why are we having this mayor come to our school? Like, this school is trash. Like, it's not good. I don't know what he would want with the middle school, but whatever. Kudos to you, I guess. But yeah, we were all just very confused on why he was here in the first place because none of us really cared. I mean, we all woke up early just to go to school. We don't care. And after that, our principal goes up and says a speech about the education, about the mayor, who he is, blah, 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 blah. I don't remember any information, so please don't ask me. Eventually, after that, there was like his assistant that was brought up just before him as well, after, and was talking more of the background of him and more specifically what's been going on recently. And then after that, everybody, round of applause for the mayor. Of course, after that was said, everybody stands up and applauds, and the mayor comes through. He does his wave, and then he gets on the podium and he goes, "Hello, everyone, blah, blah, blah. It's nice to meet you." And then, so as we're listening to him, we are finally able to ask our questions. Now, we went down in a row, so everybody on the first row would go first, then second, then third, then fourth. So, nothing really too difficult to understand or get from there. But the kinds of questions that were asked were like, what do you do daily? Or what do you eat for breakfast? I guess stuff you would ask a celebrity just to know a little bit more about them, but except obviously this was the mayor. At the end of all this, what is your goal to achieve? Something like that, like less poverty, less homeless people, stuff like that. Basically, like, what's the difference that you want to make at the end of you being mayor? And they were really all lighthearted questions. There was nothing bad about them. They were really straightforward. And for some reason, I get this crazy idea to ask him a question. One of the questions I remember people asking him was actually about the roads and how bad they were because there's so many cracks and holes and it's just bad for your car. I actually have problems with my car right now too because of stuff like that, so not great. But once that question was asked, he explained like we would use the actual good tar or whatever you use to cover up the roads, but that takes a way longer time to actually fix, and the cheaper stuff is just quicker, so that's why they do it. And if they were to actually get the roads fixed, he said that there would be an estimated like 10 to 15 years. 10 to 15 years before the roads could actually be decently fixed. I don't know about y'all, but that is insane. The fact that we've let it go on so bad and for so long without any real decent material and help or care to it, and that's so unfortunate. So I turned to my friend and I asked her, I'm like, are we allowed to ask personal questions, like ones off of the cards and just from us? And she goes, yeah, of course you can. What were you thinking? And I ignored her. I didn't even tell her what I was going to ask because I knew it was going to be a shock factor. I knew that this question was going to be like a, whoa, what are we asking here? So I raised my hand and I wait a good minute because people are still asking their postcard questions from the rows behind us. But after a while, he finally is like, yes, you young man, blah, blah, blah. And I go, so with the recent school shootings that are going on, how do you plan to protect us from that? And the silence was so loud the eyes from all the kids were all on me, and I could see the silence on the mayor. He was very shocked and definitely surprised, and so was the assistant. All the teachers looked over too in confusion, and he said something on the lines of, well, we definitely would be practicing Alice drills and stuff way more often, and blah, 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 blah. And I think I remember telling somebody else about it, like an adult, and they were saying something on the lines of, oh, yeah, of course, that's an important question to ask because of, it's actually happening in real life, so blah, 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 blah. But I remember thinking, like, I can't believe I just asked the mayor as a middle schooler about school shootings that made him, like, stop for a second and be like, what did this kid just ask? I don't know, man. That was a crazy story for me on my end because I was known as the kid that asked the mayor about a school shooting for a while, so there was that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you want, there will always be more of these. Anyways, see ya.